Ready for it.
Thrilled for it.
Presenting Franks with Turbo Booster Jet Engine.
Nexa.
Gujarat Titans have the top two in their sights. Lucknow Super Giants. It's been a season of great disappointment with big issues still to figure out once the league phase comes to an end. But maybe Rishabh Pant can get the better of Shubman Gill and at least keep the final moments and memories of this season slightly sweeter. We are back at Ahmedabad, which will now host not just a couple of league games, but also qualify to and the final. So Titans are on the charge. We build up to that game on Nexa Presents, ESPN Cricket for Timeout. Tom Moody and Varun Aaron haven't even left that couch overnight. They can't get enough of the IPL. Dustin's gone. And he's not returned given how well Manchester United did last night. So on that note, Yash Jha has been the professional that he is, my good friend and colleague, to ensure that we have all the right numbers in today. I will not sledge Man United.
And you have already sledged Man United.
This. Oh, sorry. My producer is also a United fan right now, and I can tell you there's a lot of disturbance.
So is the sound guy.
Disturbance in the audio member as well. We can talk about that game for as long as you guys want. No? Okay.
This is already more entertaining than that game last night. What you've done.
What I've done right now? Well, wait for this game tonight. You won't even know what stands where. No, in all seriousness, it's hard to see relevance for teams like Lucknow at this stage of the tournament, Tom. On the other hand, you have Titans and you think they're cruising to a top two spot. Why are these games still important if you're in Rishabh Pant's shoes right now?
Well, massively important, particularly for him. He's captain of the franchise. He was bought for a handsome sum at the auction, which is, again, it's important people recognise that's not his doing. It's what people are prepared to sacrifice. And he's had a poor season. So he personally would like to, have a decent contribution. And from a captaincy point of view, there's a huge amount of pride in what you're doing, and you don't want to be in a sinking ship. You want to try to gain some sort of positives out of these types of games.
I can already sense, looking at what's happening on social media, but I was surprised to see Rishabh was active as recent as an hour back, just responding to random accounts or reports on what his future is like. But Indian cricket needs Rishabh Pant in a good space. There's a big test series coming up, and I just wonder if the last two games will help Pant prepare for England in any way, or is that not a point to be considered if you're Pant right now?
Look, I don't think he's looking at England as of now because there are a lot of troubles right in front of him. His own form, the team's form, and no matter what you say, no team wants to finish in 7th, 8th, 9th or 10th. They want to finish somewhere in the middle, and they can do that. LSG, they had a decent start to the season. Funnily, there were a lot of concerns about their fast bowlers not being fit. When they actually were not fit, they were doing well. The moment all their fast bowlers returned, that's when they started sliding. Yeah, so, it's been a funny season for them. And Rishabh Pant would want to remind people of his pedigree with the bat more than anything else in these last two games.
GT nice and set and perhaps in pole position. He has to finish in the top two. The previous times they have finished in the playoffs, it's always been at number one.
Number one, made the finals both those times. And yeah, they are of those three teams, 4 qualified, but 3 with a stronger chance with the extra matches left. Mumbai need at least 2 of these 3 sides, GT, RCB and Punjab, to lose all their games from this point to stand a chance. But GT know that if they win these 2 games, no one's catching up with them. Even if they win 1, they'll only not finish in the top 2 if both RCB and Punjab win all their remaining games.
Yeah, well placed. 1 win is enough for you to get to the top 2, which of course will guarantee not just 2 bites at it, but another home game. I wonder how much the Titans would feel like, right, for all the unfortunate circumstances the league and the nation has seen in the last few weeks, this is a small but significant thing in our favour. We get to play 2 key playoffs potentially at home. Is that a big advantage?
A huge advantage, but they've earned the right, haven't they?
Yes.
They're in the position to be able to do that. If you're in the bottom half of the table, you've earned no right to look for favours, whether it be ground favours or overhead conditions or whatever it might be. So, yeah, they're a remarkable story when you really look at their short history, how well they've done. And you've got to put that down to, excellent management behind the scenes, shrewd selections around recruitment, and, probably the standout one this cycle is Butler, coming in and just adding another huge strength pillar to their batting unit.
I'm very happy you brought that up, because before I go into more talking points and some numbers, they're playing the other team that entered the league in their time. And what a contrast of moods, of impressions, or even standings for these two teams. It was a dream to win the league in your first year. They're now looking at finishing top 3 seasons out of 4. They have traded smartly. They have even had to cope with the loss of Hardik Pandya, which you think might take a franchise years to fill. Here they are with Shubman Gill back at the top. What has worked for GT? And why is it that LSG are nowhere near in the same conversation?
Well, I think, firstly, I don't think we need to look negatively at LSG purely because it's only a very short window and we're in the 18th season. There's still teams that haven't won
Yes.
the IPL. So LSG have actually done pretty well. You know, they've sort of been in the middle. They have qualified, but they've been in the middle sort of pack more often than not. So they've been very, very competitive. Yes, you know, a few things could have gone their favour. It could have looked a little bit different. But GT, to me, when I look at GT from afar, and again, I haven't been inside that environment, but they remind me a lot of Chennai Super Kings. They remind me of an outfit that run very smoothly and seamlessly, and there's very little pressure, it appears, on that playing group, so they can go out there and just do their things. And we know that Ashish Nehra, the head coach, you know, sort of marches up and down the boundary line and, you know, barks out his instructions, and that's his style. It's hard to argue because it's working. It's working, and the players are responding to it.
Yeah, you, of course, were in that champion-winning side, and Ashish Nehra's graph has grown tremendously, it's fair to say, in terms of domestic or Indian coaches, of which we don't have too many in the same kind of success league.
I think it all boils down to the amount of time he has for his players. I've never seen a coach or been with a coach who actually works day in, day out. He doesn't seem like it's work, but it's actually a lot of work to be present for the players. He spends a lot of time with them, out of the field, gets to know them, and passes on the message he wants to pass on in a very different, subtle way. And that's why even when on the field he's marshalling and maybe sometimes he gets a bit animated, nobody takes it personally because they already have a really tight relationship with him.
Yeah.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, so sometimes from the outside people can be like, oh, you know what? And he's talking a lot to Shubman Gill as well, you know. And a captain can sometimes be overawed by a coach saying too much to him, but it all boils down to the coach and captain relationship. And the one thing which Ashish Nehra has done better than a lot of coaches in the IPL is have a really close relationship with the captain. When Hardik was there, he had Hardik's confidence, Hardik had his confidence, and now Shubman and him are working very tightly together. And if you had that relationship, Tom knows it better than anybody else, you're going to have great results.
Well, it's interesting because I had the sort of shoe on the other foot with regards to Ashish Nehra as a player at Sunrisers. And I remember when we recruited him, as I do every season, you know, I invited him to sit down for a chat, and he came to my room and we ordered some tea. And normally your one-on-one sessions with players last anything from 30 minutes to 60 minutes, you know, and it just depends on the player and depends, you know, where the conversation goes. And it's not always cricket, there's social stuff in there, family stuff and so on and so forth. Ashish Nehra, I reckon, at least 2 hours in my room, 2 pots of tea, but it was brilliant for me because I could peel off all these layers just by asking questions, and because he's so engaging and he's a people's person, he just, the interaction was, you know, brilliant for me because it built a relationship in that 2-hour period that I hadn't had before that meeting.
So did he strike you, or if not at that moment, but over time, is it no surprise to you that he's grown into quite a natural leader, manager, coach?
Yeah, I think the thing, he's a great nurturer. You know, he's very good at that, which is an important part of coaching. Because at the end of the day, coaching is a service. It's not about you, it's about the players. And he naturally is got that nurturing nature. So that's exactly where the players are responding. That you know, they're thinking whether they're young or old. Look what he did with Mohit Sharma last year, or the year before, was it? You know, doesn't matter whether you're young or old, you feel like you're wanted and you're cared for.
Yeah, I mean, I know Tom told us not to connect LSG to GT, but I can't help but still do it. And LSG, great success when they had Gambhir and Flower there. Now they've got a completely different setup. No fault of theirs that Gambhir went off. I'm not sure about the other appointment. But again, KL Rahul's gone. You restart with Rishabh Pant. That doesn't seem to work. It's like they've adopted 2 different philosophies almost at the top.
And they've almost felt like 2 different franchises. Those first 2 years where they did make the playoffs, So I know GT had the title, but in the first 2 seasons, you could have said both these teams were pretty equally good.
Strong, yeah.
Because LSG made 2 playoffs as well.
Absolutely.
And that LSG side of 22 and 23 was stacked with all-rounders. It felt like they entered all games with 8-9 batters, with 6-7 bowlers.
Right.
And strangely enough, in the times of the impact player, they've been one of the least balanced sides.
It's a funny one. It's a tricky one. But let's just confirm what's happening now at Ahmedabad, where the Titans are in a different kit attached to the social cause that they have been championing for the last couple of seasons. But Shubman Gill's also won the toss and they're going to have a bowl. Let's look at the teams, shall we? See if Lucknow are going to make any changes just as they go into these last 2 games. I thought they might give some of the bench boys a go, and Himmat Singh's playing. Shahbaz Ahmed actually started the season in their 11 and found his way out of it. Digvesh Rathi is serving a 1-match suspension. That's enough letters written, enough send-offs given, and he now will sit out of this one. Shahbaz Ahmed and Himmat Singh. Akashdeep on the bench. This is, of course, the batting first 11. Beg your pardon. Akash Singh is on the bench. Bishnoi on the bench. Siddharth on the bench. And they've named their 4 overseas. So Pant has even said at the toss that Akash Singh comes in. So I wonder if he's given something away. But a couple of just domestic changes out there. Varun?
I think the 2 best bowlers, I mean, I wouldn't say best bowlers, but the most economical bowlers in the first 6 haven't got enough games. Akash Singh and Prince Yadav. Akashdeep has obviously leaked a lot of runs. Avesh Khan has bowled really well at the death. But Shahbaz Ahmed again was one of those players who they could have given a few more chances because he's proven his mettle in the IPL, especially with the ball. He's somebody who can really marshal those middle overs for you, but it's good that he's getting a game today.
And what a season for Shahbaz, because in the season opener, which is the only game he played, he was the 3rd spinner who only bowled 1.3, including the last over to Ashutosh Sharma when Delhi pulled off that heist. Didn't get a single game, and now in one of their last games, he is the only spinner, if Pant has said indeed that Akash Singh is the
That is the other interesting one. I thought M. Siddharth, maybe they'll remember him and give him a bit of a go. We were quite impressed seeing him. But even in Rathi's absence, Bishnoi is not in the 11. Can we read something into that?
Possibly. Well, what we do know is he's had a poor season.
Yes.
And so, the rope has run out. And, maybe they're just having a look at Shahbaz Ahmed to whether, he is someone they want to take forward into season 2 and season 3 of this cycle.
Do you sense that if we don't see Bishnoi feature today, that perhaps LSG have made a decision there?
I think so, because Bishnoi, like Tom said, has got a long rope, has got quite a few chances. He was dropped. He came back for the previous game. Very important game again. Just bowled 1 over, 26 runs. So when you're putting so much trust and money on one player to do well and he doesn't perform for you, more often than not, you're going to think of other options.
All right. What about GT's options themselves? They have 2 more games, both at home, and it looks like they will not make any changes. So Sai Sudarshan will be seen later, I'm sure, after that player of the match effort in the last game against DCA where he got 100. You'd sense everybody will just slot down. So they will continue with Butler and Kagiso Rabada in what are their last 2 games for those 2 international stars. No changes for the Titans. Now, their top 3 are awesome. We've said that many times. But could these 2 games actually be used for GT to try and give some of that engine room in the middle a little more running time? Yash, dig us the numbers.
Yeah, it is the recurring conversation that GT's middle order doesn't have to do anything, which is good news because the top 3 does so much. But we're trying to examine just how little game time that middle order has had. And the numbers will show you that it is not just less, it is a different universe almost. They have, outside of their top 3, they have barely batted 50 overs in this entire season. That's almost 200 balls lesser than what is the team with the next fewest. And to give further context, the average for all teams for the numbers 4 to 8 is 637 balls. So GT's numbers 4 to 8 haven't even batted half of that. But uniquely enough, they have done well when they've got their chances. So while their balls faced is by far the lowest,
right,
they are the best strikers. And for added perspective, there's no other team which strikes at even 160. And their balls per boundary 2 is the best. So first up, Tom, I want to ask you, seeing these sets of numbers, what does that tell you? And is it valid to say that this is undercooked?
Yeah, look, it tells you, number one, they've had a good season, particularly their top order. It also tells you, I think, the reason I think they've come in and done well with a very small sample they've had or opportunities they've had, it tells you that they are very comfortable in the environment, understanding that, you know, other people are playing their roles and doing it exceptionally well, so I'm quite happy to be in the back seat. When you have an environment where there's a little bit of uncertainty and there's a bit of friction, why isn't he playing, why aren't I playing, why is this person moved, you know, in the batting order, all those types of conversations, you suddenly don't have that gel between, you know, your top order and your middle to lower order. And I think people are very comfortable with what's happening in front of them. Why wouldn't you? You know, when you've got your top three all scoring well over 500 runs.
The success that, in the irony, in spite of low numbers, is quite something. I don't know if it is just a bit of a coincidence. You got something? I have a question, but yeah, go on.
Yeah, I do have something on that. They've almost always had to come in a situation where GT are thriving. The average total that GT have had at the end of 15 overs is 144 for 2. There's only one game, the game at Wankhede, where they made less than 130 in the first 15, and there's yet to be a single game where they've lost more than 3 wickets in the first 15.
And they almost botched that game.
Yeah.
That was obviously because of some brilliance by Jasprit Bumrah. He got that ball to, I don't know, talk, and that ball was as good as an orange, the wet ball. But yeah, putting them under pressure, they still got it. We've got, I mean, not we, the other teams have to test them out and put them under pressure. And these 2 games could be one of those games where they are put under pressure. So let's see what they do.
I actually go back to pre-season, and I remember when we did that cricket for run order on top 4s. George and me went on for a long time about when I said GT as a top 4. I'm not trying to gloat because that's the only one I got right. But when I said GT in the top 4, he said, Raunak, make their batting. There's nothing after the top 3. And he was right. I said, no, but that's enough. Look at the 3. But the guys they have at 4, 5, 6. It's not even like they're the kind of guys that would be starved if they're not playing for a long time. KKR last year didn't have 4, 5, 6 doing a lot, but it seemed to affect Rinku Singh, the batter, Shreyas Iyer, the batter. Ashish Nehra and the GT management didn't even go to the auction to get a number 4, if it's fair to say. They've decided they'll play Tewatia and Shah Rukh Khan and Rashid Khan, and guys who are okay to play 5, 6, 4.
They've also used Washington Sundar from time to time.
Rutherford as somebody who they can even dispense with. So I wonder if they saw this almost perfectly. We'll take 3 guys that will play 100 balls, and we'll have 5, 6 guys who will be happy to play 5 and 6.
Raunak, you can see many situations perfectly, but when the first ball's bowled, things become very different. But obviously, this is a situation where any coach or management wants to find themselves in, where your top order has fired. Because the one thing which every coach talks about before every batting meeting is, I want the top order, whoever's scoring, to continue batting.
But I thought that language has changed a little bit, hasn't it?
But just to your point, we saw those numbers that Yash put up with regards to the amount of balls they've faced. That just shows you how that's such an outlier. Yeah. So for them to go in thinking, oh, we're all good, we don't need number 4 or 5 of high quality because we've got 1, 2 and 3 are just superstars. So
this was high risk, you're saying?
Absolutely high risk.
And they're going to lose 3.
And they've got lucky, but they've earned the luck because they've obviously got an environment where people thrive.
And they're also going to lose number 3. They're going to lose Butler now. So that's a big spanner.
I guess his philosophy is, if I'm going to get my bowlers, which we know, he gets a bus full of bowlers, fast bowlers and whatnot. And there he says, I guess there they're saying, I don't need to allocate those kind of resources on another batter. You retained Gill, you retained Sai Sudarshan, and you did a great thing by picking Josh Butler.
He's a bowler. He's a bowling coach.
Yes. But when we compare the Rajasthan Royals philosophy of retaining 6 batters or 5 batters in Sandeep Sharma, this is curious that they made the calls. They had 2 uncapped retentions in Tewatia and Shah Rukh Khan, Shubman, Sudarshan, and they went and got Butler.
Batters win games, bowlers win championships.
My question, and there is no doubting the efficiency of those batters. You brought up KKR. I actually find a parallel where KKR had Ramandeep Singh performing that very efficient role last season. Didn't bat a lot of times, but you had a lot of 20 not out of 7, 25 not out of 8. They've kind of got that from Shah Rukh and Tewatia, because Shah Rukh and Tewatia, between them, 84 balls, 157 runs. And that's a strike rate of 190 between them, and one of the best balls per boundary in the league. But I think the broader question when they are in these last 2 games is the question of what if. They've only ever had to bat in one situation this season, but when they enter the playoffs, and with Butler not there, if that game does happen, what happens then? And for that, actually, I want to take us back a little further in time. Because Tom Moody has a good sense of teams which have had top order dominance. We pointed out this season, but this is now league history. Least balls faced by numbers 4 to 8 in the history of IPL campaigns. GT are miles ahead, sorry. But you see those two teams highlighted at the bottom. And Tom, I want to bring those up with you because Sunrisers in 2017 and 2019, two distinctly different stories. 2017 is a year where you just had that one eliminator where the top three of Dhawan, Warner, Williamson didn't have a great outing. But 2019 has its parallels with this campaign because in 2019, David Warner and Johnny Bairstow did the heavy lifting for your side. And you knew approaching the playoffs that they will not be available and they will go away for World Cup preparations. How does that affect the psyche, knowing that the batter who has done the job for me will not be there? How did you brace for the impending playoffs?
Very tightly. Purely because, the dominance of that pair were just off the charts and they just fed off each other so brilliantly well out in the middle. But slightly different, and I think we need to sort of flag this, that it's a slightly different situation because we lost both Bairstow and Warner before the playoffs, so I didn't have a choice but to bring in Guptill, who opened the batting, and Saha we introduced at the top of the order. And interesting enough, those games that they played, both of them, I think nearly in every game, got starts. They got 20s, even a 30. I think Guptill got a 30 in the eliminator.
Yep.
Hit 4 sixes. I remember thinking, oh, he's away here. He's going to get a biggie. Then he gets out. So it is difficult because the team is used to a certain rhythm to the game in the first 6 to 8 overs, and particularly the likes of Bairstow and Warner, who play a very fast game, whether it be through ball striking or running between the wickets. The energy that they had just really set the tone, and it separated us to a certain extent from the opposition just through just how they intimidated the opposition, not only with power, but with all their other, running between the wicket skills and everything else. So, to come back to something that was completely different, it did sort of throw us a little bit in that final throws of that tournament.
You're right in that you had the time to prepare and you knew Bairstow left after the 10th game, Warner left after the 12th. In GT's case, they know that they have a replacement for Butler, but they can't play him till the playoffs arrive. So what would you do in that position? Would you, in these last 2 games, with your spot secured, would you earmark a batter or two just to give them time in that situation, should it arise in the playoff?
No, I wouldn't. Because I think, again, we talk about role clarity a lot, and if you're suddenly saying, Shahrukh, come bat 3 because we want to give you some batting time and, you may get 30 or 40 balls to face. Suddenly, he's out of sync to the role that he has to play. You never know. Tonight, he may have to step up. GT may be 3 for 20 or 3 for 30, and he may have his moment, and that's when you need him playing his role. So, I don't feel there's any need to upset the rhythm of the side. I think it's more important they continue to dominate and understand what their roles are going into the finals.
Yeah, momentum is a big thing going into the playoffs because the last thing you want to do is lose a couple of matches, go into the playoffs with a lot of doubts. So I completely agree with what Tom's saying. Keep the same 11 which they have, and absolutely go in dominating.
You have to get the top 2, like you rightly point out the importance of still winning. But let's say they're chasing a modest score today. Would you still be tempted to say, right, you know what, Sai can stay on the bench a little longer, and we shouldn't have a problem getting, say, 140, 50. Let's throw in a Washington Sundar. Let's get him some balls. He could be our number 3 or 4 come a playoff.
I mean, even if they're chasing a modest total, they would want to get off to a good start, make sure they're in a position to promote somebody if they're promoting anybody.
The problem with those positions is when Sai Sudarshan and Gill get batting, then no one else gets a chance to bat.
But cricket's a funny game. Anything can happen.
The UAE team recently retired out everybody, yes, didn't they? Just get maybe... It's what you do in your match simulations, don't you? Like you just saw that you guys have had 20 balls each. We don't have time for everybody.
You have people that bat 3 times as well. And the bowlers are giving it... I'm sure he batted 10 balls ago. Was he back out here again?
Okay, with due respect, the Lucknow Super Giants, this is not a match simulation. They have good players. They'd like to finish on a high. The challenges, it's just, there's no way we can see a Gujarat Titans faltering just with the kind of form they've shown. That's with the bat. In spite of that one thing we keep repeating on their challenge after the top 3. with the ball also. It's been quite something, hasn't it?
I mean, they do have a few bowlers who've had seasons of two halves. Siraj started really sharp. He's tailed off a little in the last 6 or 7 games. Rashid doesn't have the wickets this season, but
He might actually be bowling better.
yeah,
Second half,
his
yeah.
economy has come down from 10s, nearly 10s to 7.5, 8 in the last 5 games. And they've also had, they've obviously not had Rabada to call upon for the longest time, but Rabada is back, Prasidh Krishna.
Are they
And
still
Sai
bowling as well?
Kishore as well has had two different halves, I would say.
Is that understandable for bowlers? Is there something you've noticed particularly? Or are they still
His second
bowling well?
half was more underutilization, I feel.
For Sai Kishore.
For Sai Kishore, more than anything else, because I think they really upset his rhythm. He was bowling really well, and there were a couple of games where a lot of lefties were there. They didn't give him any bowling. So I feel they're still in a good space. It's great that they've got Rashid firing, because we know how Rashid can turn a game on its head just like Bumrah can.
Siraj is still bowling well for you, even though he may not be getting wickets?
Siraj, I feel he's being a tad over-attacking, because Siraj sometimes when he's in front of the game and he gets a bit excited and he wants to absolutely demolish the batsman, where in T20 sometimes you have to hold back a little, maybe, and just wait for those days when you get a wicket and then attack a little more. I feel Ashish Nehra is already in his ear, and he would be telling him to just temper down his length a little, bowl those hard lengths, and if you get a wicket, then start attacking the stumps.
Okay, well, let's set up the first 6, shall we? We are fast approaching the first ball. GT bowling. Next up presents Power Play Conversations. Okay, I believe we have a matchup that screams out, but Kalisha Rabada doesn't always take the new ball. There is something against Mitchell Marsh.
Yes,
there,
Marsh
Yash?
has dominated Rabada. I think it's 7 innings, just gotten out 1, strikes at 170. But Rabada, that matchup aside, actually, I do have a question around Rabada, which is they are aware that Rabada will not be part of the playoffs. They played Coetzee before Rabada came back and was available again. Coetzee is the bowler that will stay. Would you have wanted to give Coetzee more time?
Yeah, I would have definitely thought that was worth exploring, unless there's some injury issue that we don't know or illness. But it would make sense that you'd have a look at him.
Okay. Lots of seam options. Siraj, normally Arshad Khan comes in as well. Yeah. Because the top 3 is the game for Lucknow.
I think Arshad Khan would be a good matchup, especially versus Mitch Marsh. Aim at those pads, try to get one nipping back from off stump. You could have an early wicket.
Pant at 3 or Pant at 4?
Or 7.
Stop it here.
Yeah, look, I think Nicholas Purant's got about 3. So Pant about 4, 5, 6, whatever number. But to me, their best top 3 is with Purant at 3.
100%. Same. I go with Tom. Purant at 3. Don't change that.
Purant at 3, but if they do get an early wicket, Purant versus Rabada is quite the matchup, because Rabada's got him out 4 times and kept him to a strike rate of 120, an average of 13.
He's due then.
Well, they've got an afternoon game against Chennai to finish things off. So they're going to play a couple of games in quick time, but they will have some rest before the qualifiers. So I'm curious to see if they've factored both these games together, as to maybe give Rabada one today and maybe Coetzee will play Sunday. Or could you tend to believe that maybe bowlers are better off just bowling ahead of
Coetzee has not been 100% with his groin.
Yeah,
so they might
cautious.
just be like, you know what, he's going to be a big part of our playoffs. So just might be just protecting him a little bit. That's the only reason I see.
Yeah, to be fair, even the Wankhede game, he actually bowled only 2 overs.
Yeah.
He was required more to finish the game.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Outstanding 6 at about 12:45 at night or something like that. Right. On that note, it is time to get some first innings predictions from Tom, Varun and Yash. We will just wait for one ball to see whether Siraj gets it to move a bit. It doesn't really matter. We know what Markram and Marsh are going to do. Come on, Varun, kick us off.
I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. 68 for 1.
Varun,
in the power
first
play.
inning score.
Okay. First inning score. Oh, sorry, I thought power play. Sorry, first inning score 220.
Yes, 220. All right, big score.
After that booming cover drive.
Yeah. He said high scoring game. I was going to be victor and he went 68.
Sorry.
I'm going to say 201.
All right, 201. Forecaster's loaded, has it? Yes, it has.
yet.
203, says forecaster.
I'll go a little over that, 215.
215. So everyone's going 200 plus. You know what? I'll have some fun here. I think I'll get 110 in the first 10.
Oof.
And then they'll get half of that in the next 10. So,
Oh, really? Bowled out for 160.
well, bowled out, possibly, but 165. I think that's where I'm going.
Wow.
All right, let's see where the game stands. Tom Moody, Varun Aaron, thank you very much. Yash, brilliant. We will pick up the chat at the end of the LSG innings on Next Up Presents ESPN Cricket for Timeout.
Ready for it.
Thrilled for it.
Presenting France with Turbo Booster Jet Engine.
Nexa.